Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my new series of interviews under the title Lifting the Curtain. In the first interview in this new series, I'm speaking to John Dagleish, who is about to star in Spike at the Newbury Watermill. John is playing Spike in the new play written by Ian Hislop and Nick Newman. The production runs at the Newbury Watermill from Thursday, the 27th of January to Saturday, the 5th of March. Tickets are available now from watermill.org.uk. The link for that is also in the description. I hope you enjoy this chat with John.
So I'm playing Spike Milligan in the show Spike at the Watermill Theatre. We are lucky enough to be directed by the brilliant Paul Hart, with a script by Ian Hislop and Nick Newman, and the most fantastic cast of incredibly funny, talented, brilliant, wonderful people. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience so far, just to get out of town and be somewhere beautiful like the Watermill, and just play and have so much fun with these ridiculously talented people on a show that will hopefully have people absolutely laughing in the aisles. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I spoke to my dad this morning because obviously I'm a bit young, obviously, for Spike. He described him as an Irish lunatic. So I mean,
yeah, that's probably quite apt. Yeah, I mean, his output was huge, and his imagination immense, and yeah, it's a real privilege and a daunting one to play him. And yeah, I remember when I was a kid listening to the Goon Show on cassette tapes, which ages me as well, I'm sure. But for our younger listeners, a cassette tape is a small plastic device for recording audio. Yeah, so it was. I had quite an early start with Spike, but I think I was responding to the kind of silly voices and the kind of the madness of it all. And then as you kind of grow up, you start to realize how clever that silliness is. And he's kind of, I suppose, the comedians that we've grown up with, he's their kind of idol, you know. So it's sort of like playing the hero of your heroes.
yeah.
Which is always a daunting one, you know. Obviously, I've played real people before, and sometimes have the luxury of having those people around during the process. But we've unfortunately not had that with Spike. We've actually got the anniversary of his death mid run, which will be an interesting evening. I think that'll be quite a poignant one. It'll feel quite poignant getting up on that stage that evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, that kind of actually ties into my next question, because obviously you're probably best known for obviously Sunday Afternoon, and obviously playing Ray Davies, as you say, another kind of real person. And does it kind of change your research for a role when you are playing someone who obviously has been?
I mean, it certainly makes it a lot easier, because if someone was a public figure, then there's a huge amount, you know, with the resource that we have now of the internet. It's a fantastic thing. You know, I've spent hours on a kind of deep dive of Spike Milligan on YouTube, where it's just one interview to the next, or, you know, it's an interesting one though, because I've said this before, trying to play like Ray, for example, trying to play an introvert on stage is quite a tricky thing, and you have to kind of find this balance of how much you bring the audience to you and how much you kind of put out to them, in terms of, you know, it would be very dull to watch a very introverted person on stage for 2.5 hours or 2 hours. So you have to find this balance of, especially with someone like Spike, where you want to give the people what they want, but actually when you kind of see him in interviews when he's not going off and just taking control of the interview and deciding that this isn't good television and I'm going to make it interesting. In the moments of him just speaking as him, you realize actually that he was a very sort of quiet, thoughtful chap. So it's finding that balance of allowing the audience to see this side of him that maybe they haven't seen before, plus giving them what they want and what they're familiar with, you know. I think there's always a danger as well that you can play too hard into the impersonation, and sometimes an impersonation can get in the way of a good performance, I think. So there's that balance to find as well. Obviously, I'm not going to look like him without plastic surgery, but I can try as damn well hard to sound like him as possible. But not at the expense of everything else that you're trying to play.
Of course. And obviously, like, you've done kind of multiple kind of things like musicals, dramas, comedies now. Obviously, do you have to prepare any differently when you're doing like a straight comedy to say a musical, or is it?
Not especially, no. I think that there's a temptation to, I guess, in the kind of, our industry loves to put performers in boxes. You're a musical theatre person, you're a comedy person, you're a drama person, you're a TV actor, you're a film actor. I've been really, really lucky to kind of sort of have a little dalliance with all of those bits and bobs throughout my career. And I think I prepare in pretty much the same way for all of them. No, I don't think that there is a difference, and I think that maybe that's why I can sort of skirt across the different disciplines, if you like. It's because I sort of give each of them the same importance as the other. I don't sort of discount the acting when I'm going into a musical theatre piece, and I don't discount the drama when I'm going into a comedy piece.
Yeah, of course.
I think that has to be, especially when you're telling a story that's got to sustain for a couple of hours on stage. There has to be bittersweet. There has to be light and dark.
Yeah, of course.
You can't just play the comedy for 2 hours, especially in a play, which, in some parts of what we're presenting, as silly as it is, there is, a real message about mental health in there, and a message about overworking, and and also the play is set in real life in the time when mental health wasn't really looked at in that way. So yeah, So that was a very long answer to, I suppose. No, I prepare it exactly the same way across the board. Yeah.
Amazing. Do you see any of your kind of own qualities reflected in the kind of character at all?
He has this kind of manic energy that I get very excited when I'm in a rehearsal room. It's just that sense of play. And I think that is something that Spike had an abundance of, this imagination of almost like a child, He talks about having this great affinity with children. I kind of feel a bit like that myself. Just sort of like, oh yeah, I'm on a wavelength with this 5-year-old now. I definitely sometimes need to be kind of, John, just calm a little, because I get carried away with the playing of it all, and it keeps you young, so why not?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, it's like you say, it's at the Watermill, which is quite an intimate space. Is that going to kind of allow you more to play directly to kind of the faces, do you think, in the audience?
Yeah, I hope so. I've never done a show at the Watermill before, and I'm really looking forward to it. I poked my head into the auditorium last week, and it's a gorgeous little room. And I just think to have that size space just filled, hopefully, fingers crossed, with the sound of laughter is going to be incredible. But every single show I've ever done changes dramatically as soon as you put it in front of an audience.
Yeah, of course.
It is the missing character in the play. It's why the I did the old Vic Christmas Carol last year over Zoom.
Oh yeah, I watched it. Yeah, brilliant.
With the empty auditorium behind us, and it was profound in its oddness of not having that last character being the audience in the room with you. We rehearsed it and made it work for the camera, and I think we did a brilliant job. And the old Vic were incredible at continuing their output through these crazy times when we weren't physically allowed in those buildings, but yet when we got to the performance, obviously it didn't change from the rehearsal room because we didn't have that other element in the room. Whereas, and I think even more so when you're talking about comedy, because you're hoping that there'll be laughs, but you can't guarantee them. And you certainly can't sort of play it desperately for laughs either. So we'll see. We'll see. I think it's the first time. It's probably the first. I'm trying to think of another show that I've done that has been out and out a comedy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely done things that have humor and funny bits, but
Yeah.
it's probably the most daunting time to go into with an audience in front of you is with a comedy, I expect, because we just don't know how they're going to react to it, you know.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, like, as you say, it's obviously different with a comedy without the audience. Like you say, I guess in the rehearsal room, there's kind of a bit of laughter, but does that kind of like excite you, or does that make you a little bit anxious, kind of as you think you're like getting towards opening?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I always find laughter in a rehearsal room is not particularly conducive to what it's going to be in the room, because you've known these people for a little while. There's a sense that you're kind of laughing at your friends and being silly a little bit. I sort of try and equate it to like when I've been to watch third year shows at drama schools, and someone can be hilariously funny, but it can be really alienating as an audience when you hear, oh, that person's got all their mates in over there and they're laughing at so and so being funny and silly, not at what they're doing, but because it's their mate, so sometimes you have to be a bit wary of laughter inside the rehearsal room, I think. There's maybe an energy where all the people that are laughing know the context of the entire play, whereas we're going to be doing it to a group of fresh ears and eyes every single night, so there's no telling what's going to be funny where, or but certainly with all the restrictions off now, hopefully the sense of people gathered in a room laughing, they will give each other the energy and the confidence that they need to actually enjoy it in the way that we used to enjoy things together a couple of years ago.
Fingers crossed. And I guess, like you say, that childish play, has there been kind of a lot of corpsing kind of as you kind of building the play forwards? I'm guessing so.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a super fun rehearsal period for sure, with a lovely supportive bunch of people. And like with any job I've ever done, whether it's an acting job or a bar job, it's always the people that make work worth going to. No, I think it'll be hilarious, actually.
Good.
They're just so funny. They're just such a funny bunch. And I hope that I can include myself in that. We'll see.
I'm sure you will. Do you have like a favourite moment kind of in the play at the minute?
Yeah, I think some of my favourite parts are when we're doing the live recordings of the Goon Show, because you've got live Foley happening on stage, and the kind of setup with the microphones at the front, and it'll hopefully be really reminiscent to some of the older people in the audience, and to some of the younger people that have maybe heard recordings later on that have been passed down. I said, my first experience with it was listening to it on cassette, obviously decades and decades and decades after it was first aired. But I think what the play does really well is it has those sort of madcap moments of goonery and fooling around, but it also then has these wonderful moments of quite quiet, still scenes between Spike and his partner, or intimate scenes with Harry in the pub where they're just talking about, is Spike okay? Or, it's got a really lovely sort of blend in the show of those kind of light and dark moments, But no, I think certainly the most fun parts to play are the goonery parts where we get to do all the silly voices, for sure.
Amazing. And if you could have like a drink with Spike, what do you think the advice he would give you for playing him would be?
Oh God. I mean, Spike would probably say, "Don't you bloody dare," or something like that. I'm not sure that he would approve of anything. Sort of celebrating his life, or he'd probably take one look at me and say, "Is this the best that you could get?" Really? In his typical Spike way. I think he'd approve of the madness that I think that we've got going there. And for sure, our play definitely takes quite a lot of swipes at the BBC exec type figure, which I'm sure that we would enjoy. But I hope he would also say, just enjoy it. It's just a bit of fun at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, of course. And to kind of wrap it up, why should audiences choose to come and see this production of Spike?
Well, I think if you're a fan of Spike Milligan, you're going to love this. There's going to be little insights into things you maybe didn't know about him before. It's going to be like peeking behind the curtain at a Goon Show recording for those. And if you don't like Spike, or if you've never heard of Spike Milligan before, then this is a chance to acquaint yourself with one of the finest comedy minds that we've ever had. And across the board, everyone should come, because I think we all need a good laugh at the moment. And I think that this is going to really squeeze the laughs out of you. And to be sat in a room full of people laughing after everything that we've endured in the last couple of years, I think that's super important at the moment. So yeah, I think that'll be the big seller. Come and have a bloody good laugh.
Amazing. That is a brilliant way to end. So thank you very much for your time. Good luck with the production.